Okay, we're talking about the Flash now. Let's get into the big dog of the night. We gave everybody 15 minutes. That's enough time to jump in. So Fred, you haven't done one of the new formatted deep dives. What Carmine have been doing is trying to essentially go through the movie from beginning to end and just talking about the big moments, right? So I'm going to try to remember the movie as much as I can.
I don't even know if that's going to be possible.
This movie's bad. So I'm just gonna flat out say it. We try to wait for our rating until the end, but this fucking movie is bad. So let me pull up a picture of the worst actor in cinema at the moment, and we start the movie off. It's basically with an action scene that it can only be described as garbage. We see the Flash run to essentially back up Batman, and he has to save a bunch of babies falling out of a collapsing building. So first things first, I'm not DC Comics aren't my bread and butter. Okay, my first question or comment or whatever that made me go seriously was the fact that I understand he's got to eat a lot, right? Because he burns calories quickly. I understand that it's established in the show. It's a part of his character. Has the Flash ever had a meter on his wrist that acts like a gas tank? And a fuel
Not
gauge
that I can remember.
that flat out tells him, "Oh, peak speed, mediocre speed, ludicrous speed." Who came up with that idea?
I don't remember that ever happening. I could be wrong. I don't.
I've read a lot of Flash comics.
I can't. Go ahead, Carmine. Is that a part of the comics?
I've read a lot of Flash comics. I've never seen it. Now, maybe randomly somewhere in some Flash comic at some point he had some sort of meter. I don't want King Lion jumping down my throat on this one.
Yeah.
But as far as I can remember, I can't remember him ever having a meter being like, "You're low on fuel, Barry. Eat some power bars." Like it was such a silly, and even if it had been in the comics at one point, it looks so goofy on screen that they should have just been like, "No, cut this."
I
you know what I'm saying?
Can we segue to something though?
Yeah, go for it.
I think this goes hand in hand to his weird suit. Like,
I hate the suit.
It seemed like his
you're
suit
making me
was
pull him
just
back on screen now. I hate this suit.
Like an electronic suit, right? Where it had his meter of calories or whatever. It did something to his lightning to make it yellow, which it should have been yellow without the suit.
Right.
We'll get into that later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know, man. The whole him looking at a fuel tank for his calories was just strange. The whole idea of his suit needing to like charge up before I don't know, man. It was just, the whole thing was strange. I did though, talking about the beginning, I did like his journey to get to Gotham. I thought that was done very well. Some people didn't like it, but to me, it felt like Injustice when you see him running through dimensions and trying to get back to the fight. It kind of felt like that, of seeing him just plowing through different states to get to where he's going.
Yeah, the speed gimmicks that they used in this movie went from like really good at some points to absolutely awful at other points. Like it was not consistent at all.
Yep.
On what they were like, because you said, there was that beautiful shot of him running to Gotham, and then when he goes to save the day, with the babies and everything like that, it was just the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. And
the babies didn't look real. It looked like they tried to copy and paste Quicksilver in X-Men and fit that in somewhere. Like, it was just so strange.
I'm glad you brought that up because it brings up one of my biggest...
I just want to show what Fred was talking about. You're talking about this running through the Speed Force here is better than the movie, or is similar, reminded you of the movies, what you're saying?
Yeah, like just him going from spot to spot. You saw his journey to Gotham.
Yeah. No, I know what shots Fred's talking about.
I want to say that I don't agree with you at all. However, it was the best looking moment of the entire movie, and that was the very beginning. I mean, that was the title card of the movie. Basically, was him running to Gotham.
This movie made the fatal mistake, in my opinion, of doing what other like speedster characters do, and they do these ultra slow motion shots where the character's just standing around being like, which makes absolutely no sense, because for him to be moving at speed, he actually has to be moving. He can't be standing still. And it bothered me in the X-Men movie because I hate that. I'm one of the few people that hate that scene.
Me too, bro.
For the simple fact of that. And it bothered me to no end because they did it so much in this movie.
What bothers me,
but at least
every time he enters the Speed Force, he's just standing there, and like when they're in the Chronosphere and he's talking to other Barry or talking to whoever.
I hate it.
Having a conversation. No one's moving.
Garbage.
No one's moving. So it makes they're not showing us speed powers, they're showing us time stoppage powers, which bothers me to no end.
Which is a completely different element of force outside the Speed Force.
I'm telling you, one person said, "Oh, in order to show somebody moving super fast, we'll slow everything down." And then another director said,
"It's
well, how
the
can we show
DC
this
slow-mo
faster?"
effect. Every time they have a speedster like Black Adam, they have to put everything in fucking slow-mo, and it's terrible.
What pisses me off is you have the template from a goddamn CW show. Right. Why can they do it well? You can see Barry running full speed, but in his vision, it's slow motion, but you don't feel like it's slow motion.
Right.
You just know he's moving so fast. Where in the movies, they always tend to just stop time, and he's just like, boop, boop, boop,
everything
boop,
slows down. Which is, you know what the thing is, it wouldn't be as much of a problem if it wasn't so overly used. If it was,
I actually like Black Adam's better than they did for the Flash.
Well, you saw defended Black that to your death, and it was, I couldn't believe you were defending that one either.
No, but you saw Black Adam actually moving fast. Where
I was
they moved him in and out of it. They moved him in.
But the difference in Black Adam is that when he's moving so fast that everything slows down, everything is still moving. You see it still going slowly.
Yeah.
My problem with the Flash, and with most of the time, to your point, Zuplex, when they use this kind of gimmick, is sometimes all the other objects are moving slowly. Other times they're just sitting perfectly still. There's no rhyme or reason, and there's no consistency to how fast our character is moving. But and just to go back to the CGI babies, like, you know, your CGI is bad when in 2023 you made the Twilight baby actually look like a decent effect.
Yeah,
and that was one of the worst effects I've ever seen in my life. Like, these babies were he put a baby in a microwave. People, I understand the microwave was unplugged, but somebody in creative said, "Oh, you know what would be a funny moment is if he sticks the baby in the microwave." And then
he probably did that in Hawaii.
He probably did, yeah. And then to top it all off, at the end of the scene, the capper on the joke is he takes the baby out of the microwave and hands it to a nurse. Like,
after you hear it go ding.
Yeah. Why would it go ding though if it was unplugged the whole time? It's not even on. There's no electricity going to it. Like, it's just a sound effect for sound effects.
I don't know.
Literally, I'm in the theater. There's like, I don't know, 8 or 10 of us in the theater, not a lot of people. And I out loud, when he looks at his wrist and it says he has the meter, I thought to myself, like, is that a real thing? And then when he eats the candy or whatever from the vending machine, and then literally when it says peak speed, I was like, are you joking? Like, out loud, I said that. And 3 people laughed because I'm like, we needed to be told that he had peak speed. Are you kidding me? He's the
man ate a Snickers bar and all of a sudden he was at peak speed, Sean.
Like,
doesn't he know those are empty carbs? Come on,
that
bro.
Leads to
he needs complex carbs, man. He should be eating pasta and
he needs to sustain himself.
But big belly burgers.
That scene leads to a fairly decent action scene with Ben Affleck's Batman. You know, I thought the blue and gray suit looked cool.
Yeah,
I think Ben Affleck is a great.
Look,
Batman,
Affleck was amazing.
Like,
I can't knock the dude. I thought he was better than Keaton in this movie.
Yeah, well, we'll get to Keaton when he shows up, but again, they ended with a horrible joke, and that's when the lasso of truth. Batman's joke was fine.
Carbo load.
Yeah, when Batman says the comment about, like, I won't thank you because my ego is too big and I'm aware of this, whatever. Like, that was kind of like a funny little joke. But did we need to know that the Flash is a virgin? Like, was that just necessary for this movie? Just a dumb joke. And
it was stupid.
On top of the fact that Ezra Miller is not a good actor. I'm sorry for anyone who likes him out there.
Yeah, you could have had the lasso of truth say anything and make it funny, and they went with that, and it was just,
Just a cringy joke.
Just to make him that much more annoying and unlikable.
And speaking of the suit, let's just go back to the suit for a second. Again, Zuplex, I'm going to pose this question to you because you're the comic book guy. Is there a precedent for the suit lighting up Tron style when he's tapping into the Speed Force? Is that something I just never noticed?
There's a few. There's a few different iterations of the suit. I'll be honest with you. I hated the suit in the trailers. It looked slightly better in the movie.
One thing I didn't like, though, is that there's a lot of scenes. I can't really find a good shot of it because the movie's still new, but there's a lot of scenes in the movie where Barry's not running at full speed. He's just talking. He's in the suit, but he's just talking. And you could tell that there's like a CGI overlay over him for whatever reason. And everything
sometimes it looks terrible. There's sometimes
it
looked less Tron-like in the actual movie than it did in the trailer.
Yeah, it didn't bother me as much as it did in the trailer, for sure.
Yeah, it didn't bother me as much. But, I mean, listen, there have been different iterations of the Flash suit that have glowed in different.
Okay, so that's just something I wasn't aware of. Then
it's not the classic Flash suit that everybody knows. So the new 52 did a lot of this.
I do hope.
Or like Speed Force was.
It was just annoying that he needed the suit to make the lightning yellow.
Well, that was drives me crazy. Fred made that point to me off camera, and I definitely want to bring that up now. What is it about? I guess it's a Zack Snyder choice, but why do we need to differentiate the color based off the clothes they wear? Because when we get to the second Barry, he's got white lightning the whole time. He's wearing the same suit, but he's got white lightning for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
They switched suits back.
He had yellow lightning when he had the suit on.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, he put the suit. He's got white lightning. He puts the suit on. It's yellow lightning. He takes the suit off. It's white lightning.
I don't know if the idea is that the suit
because in Justice League his lightning was white because he didn't have this suit.
I guess
it was just continuing his color scheme, which was a poor choice of color scheme to begin with. It should just.
I think one of the things that Snyder tried to do that they tried to keep consistent in this movie was that the suit somehow channels
dull coloring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides that, but the suit somehow channels Speed Force for him, which makes no sense because the suit never had to channel Speed Force.
No, he just gradually got faster and faster and faster.
Yeah,
like who channels Speed Force? Ugh. I can't. I mean, again, that would make sense, I guess, if they kind of established that, but instead they just, they're rushing through all this like everything else in the DCEU. So after the Flash makes his save, we basically get a scene of him struggling at work. That's classic Flash stuff. He doesn't really have friends. Iris West is there, for reasons. And then they move on to him essentially trying to get his dad free. So we find out that his mom died because his dad had to go to the store to grab a can of tomatoes that she forgot. Are we still
at the beginning, or are we past the whole Affleck thing?
We're past the Affleck thing. I mean, if you have more to add to about Affleck.
Yeah, because I feel like we didn't give him enough credit because him jumping back into the role, I felt like he just nailed it, in my opinion. His action sequences, him on the bat bike, I thought was awesome. I feel like, though, in the scene where you saw the lasso of truth and Wonder Woman randomly appears, right?
For her second random cameo of the last movies.
Cavill
filmed a scene for that shot and they cut it. They cut him out.
It did feel weirdly edited. Feel weirdly edited.
Because I feel like the whole premise of this was the beginning of the movie was the Justice League, doing whatever, helping out. And then it kind of just branched off to the Flash doing his thing. But it just felt like it was just chopped up and they only put Wonder Woman in it and then had Batfleck.
Yeah. It was 100% chopped up. You could just tell. Everything felt weird. It almost felt like Gal Gadot, who was clearly, she wasn't clearly there, but it seemed like she came in recently and filmed some shots in front of a green screen. And then they just kind of snuck her in there somehow and had a body double on set to play her character. Almost like they weren't going to show her face, and then they decided, okay, we'll show her face. But it didn't feel like it was necessary. It's just like Shazam, it just didn't feel like it was necessary. Who cares? Like Wonder Woman was there.
Ben Affleck proves again to all the haters that he's the best Bruce Wayne we've had.
He's the best Bruce Wayne.
He's the best Batman.
I think he's the best Batman. Like, it's really a shame that he's not. Him versus Deathstroke is never going to happen. that Batman specifically versus Deathstroke is not going to happen.
Like all this did was make me want Ben Affleck's Batman more than I ever wanted it, and I wanted it a lot.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree. I was looking. I nothing about him being Batman ever really bothered me. Even when they announced it, I remember thinking like, I think he'll be a good Batman and good Bruce Wayne.
He had poor writing, but he still put on a masterful performance as Batman, despite the words he was saying being so shit.
Right.
In
and unfortunately, the last we see of him is the beginning shitty moment of the Flash movie. I mean, his part was okay. Seeing Alfred come back, okay, fine for a quick cameo. But, you know, it really just reminded you of things that we actually wanted to keep seeing and that we're not going to get in the DCEU anymore.
Chris, I sent you something so you could kind of see the new 52 Flash suit.
Oh, gotcha.
But so is that actually the suit doing that, though?
What? The
lightning, or is it just him?
No, the lightning comes from him, but it flows through the suit. Like, this was a very new 52 looking suit, and that's why I kind of understood where they were going with it. But
yeah, I guess.
You know,
but me looking at that picture, and if he puts it up,
I'm gonna bring it up right now.
It still to me seems like it's not the suit generating it; it's him generating it.
It is.
It just seemed like with that suit on, it was more coming through that way. Like,
I mean, in this picture, it looks like, I agree with you, Fred. In this picture, it looks like it's more just lightning he's generating, not really the suit. But you can see little marks. I know you guys can't see my mouse really. Or maybe you can.
Like his belt,
like right here on his helmet.
A lightning belt.
Yeah, like it looks like it's actually a part of the suit. I mean, it looks cooler in this little image here than it did in the movie. I'll tell you that much. I'm really hating on it.
With that being said, though, like that lightning with the suit was exactly the lightning I wanted for the Flash from the start. Like the yellow looked so good. And when he started running through the Speed Force, and we'll get to that, the yellow around him in the Speed Force looked so good. So I don't know, man. It was such a weird choice to go with white, and then seeing it again with the young Barry down the road, I was just like, why?
Yeah. Well, so I want to move forward a little bit because like you keep mentioning when he's running into the Speed Force, and we talked about the Chrono Bowl briefly before. So we find out Barry basically wants to get his dad free. He's a forensic scientist, all the classic Barry stuff. He has a video image that Bruce Wayne essentially cleans up for him from its surveillance footage that he thought might get his dad out of jail. Turns out his dad never looked up at the camera. There's no alibi. His dad's still in jail. That leads to him essentially moping, reminiscing about the day where his mom died. Iris, for whatever reason, just comes to his house and decides, I'm going to remind you of a way you can save your parents. And Barry goes back in time. So all that stuff was boring. You know what I mean? It was just them talking. It was not boring, but it is what it was. It wasn't like horrible. It was moving the story along. But my first question, we see him essentially, he starts running. He kind of gets upset or whatever, and he runs so fast that he enters the Chrono Bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently for the first time. And then he basically thinks out loud to himself, like, oh, wait a minute. If I go back in time, I can do this, that, and the other thing. I can save her. Why not try it? Right. Before he does it, though, I got to ask this question. Did he not go back in time before this?
He did.
In Justice League. Am I nuts?
No.
He went back in time.
He went back in time, but he did it he was reversing seconds and minutes rather than days.
But he's supposed to be a genius, right? Like, so if he did it for a few seconds.
No. You guys are misunderstanding something here, if I'm not mistaken. The version of him from the future came back in time. He didn't go back in time.
I'm confusing the Zack Snyder Justice League, I think, with the theatrical Justice League.
Yeah.
Right, because he never goes back in time in the Joss Whedon version.
He doesn't. In the Zack Snyder version, in the Zack Snyder version, he reverses seconds, like Fred was just talking about. Yeah. But he never actually goes back in time until the future, because you see the future version of Barry come through the screen to Bruce to tell him but he doesn't do it actually. He doesn't go back in time in that movie. It's a future version of Barry that comes back.
So I was operating on the wrong canon. So the Zack Snyder Justice League didn't happen. That doesn't count.
Snyderverse was canon. The Joss thing is fucking.
I feel like so here's my.
But even the Snyderverse, he doesn't go like full back in time, like Fred said. He just reverses.
He's
no, but my point is, if he went back in time, even a few seconds, in let's say we count the Zack Snyder one as the canon one, then logically he should have already said to himself, well, if I did it a few seconds, why couldn't I go back further? He's supposed to be a genius. He's not supposed to be dumb.
Well, I think that's what made him run even faster to go back in time.
Yeah,
because he knew he could do it.
If that's the case,
it's a different level. Like for him to break the time space continuum or whatever, he's got to get to a certain speed.
Yeah.
So you're saying that he just never reached that speed before, which is why he was surprised.
Yes.
When he did it this time. All right. Well,
which is why, like, and this is where a big part of this is fucky. Is that in the comics, he wasn't able to do that on Earth. That's why they had to build him the
treadmill,
the space-time treadmill, right?
Yeah.
Is because the only way for him to, because he would have destroyed the Earth basically if he was going that fast. You know,
I hate this movie so much. So. All right, so fine.
Flash time travel, even in the comics, has always been a bit fucky.
Well, I'm okay with that. Like time travel is always going to be funky. To me, it's like, you know, when once time travel gets involved, for the most part, you stop asking questions. I'm not asking to clarify how he travels in time. To me, it just didn't make sense because I felt like he did it before. But I'm picturing the Zack Snyder.
It's also confusing because like they had a future version of Barry travel back to the movie that we were watching in Justice League,
right? And he's
traveling back in
live action, which is a storyline I would love to see.
You got to remember that happens in the Nightmare Verse,
right?
At the end, where he's going back to warn Bruce to not let Superman kill Lois because we were heading towards an Injustice storyline at some point,
which would have been amazing.
That's never going to happen. So.
God, I would have loved that, dude. I would have.
I hope Gunn goes down that route soon.
I mean, I would have loved it if it wasn't going to be the people that were going to do it. Well, because they would have fucked it up. Like,
honestly, I feel like Zack Snyder could have done it well, but you know, we'll never. Well, that's I don't trust neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So then we get Barry deciding after Bruce warns him not to do it because Bruce is smart.
Which is the only like real Flash thing that they ever did in this movie. Was someone told Barry, don't fuck with time, and Barry said, I'm gonna fuck with time.
Right.
That's what I do.
Which is, you know, if you watch the Flash show, that's just that's
the running joke. Yeah. It's how is Barry gonna fuck up the timeline?
And truthfully, just not to jump ahead too much, but the way it ends with him fucking up the timeline, I thought to myself, it wouldn't be the Flash if he still didn't fuck with the timeline. So
exactly.
But so now, you know, Bruce tells him don't do it. He does it anyway. He runs back in time, and then we get our first glimpse of the Chrono Bowl, the infamous Chrono Bowl.
Yeah.
And like, oh God, like I thought the CG was bad. And then the Chrono Bowl happened. And I thought the projector kind of like the guy back there messed up somehow and ruined it. Like
what drove me nuts, even worse than the actual how bad the CGI was the bullshit excuse they tried to explain this before the movie even came out. They're like, well, it looks so bad because you're looking at it through Barry's eyes and it's his vision of how it looks. And that's why it looks a little off, guys. Don't worry.
I understood that point.
Stop it.
No, let him talk. Let him talk.
I understood that point when it was him running. Him stopping in the middle of the bowl is not the vision that I'm thinking he's talking about, because that was just plain dumb from beginning to end. Like, why, like to your point earlier, why does he need to stop running and still see everything?
Makes no sense.
Why is he in a bowl of time and he's standing still having a conversation with other like what
are we supposed
what are they doing?
Are we supposed to believe that even when he's standing there and just slowly looking around, he's still moving at super speed?
Because he's not moving. His arms aren't going, like you don't see him going like this at all, like nothing. He's just standing there like what am I looking at? What is this?
Even the whole design of the Chrono Bowl though, of like that stadium,
it was like a
where it's like
gladiator
levels and you just see repeats of him like I don't really understand the again, Zuplex. Is that in the comics?
I mean, I don't want, because I'm not a huge Flash reader. I've read a lot of Flash comics, but I'm not like a huge Flash fan. There may be something called a Chrono Bowl. There's so many different time things that they've done in various Flash comics that it's possible that there's a Chrono Bowl somewhere. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I'm actually looking it up right now.
I will say that, like, if there is one, they could have just left it out of this movie and just done something different because it looks stupid.
They absolutely could have come up with a better solution.
There's so much different time shit that they put in the Flash comics where you have the infinite treadmill and you know, him busting through the Speed Force, and the Speed Force has different elements to it, and there's different Speed Force users, and like Barry's in tune with the Speed Force more than anybody else is in tune with the Speed Force, and that's why he's able to do things that other speedsters can't. And maybe he can reach a Chrono Bowl. I don't know, but at the end of the day, is like, whether it was in the comics or not, you're either gonna make a smart decision to use it in the movie or a bad decision to use it in the movie.
Right.
And
all you needed was him still running in that beautiful yellow Speed Force tunnel, right? And you just see time flashing by as he's running. Like, that's all you needed to do. You didn't need this weird ass stadium and him standing there. Like, it made zero sense.
The stadium made no sense. You literally could have taken a page out of Star Wars or Star Trek when they're traveling at warp speed, and you know, they're in the ship, they're moving around, but everything's still moving.
He started running at fucking warp speed, and then he just landed in the Chrono Bowl, and
I'll tell you this: how about this? They didn't need to do any of that. They could have just had him wake up in his old house, like they do in Flashpoint the comic.
Well,
just have him wake up in his old house and be like, "Holy shit, what did I do?"
We know the reason they did it, and that comes up later in the movie. We know exactly why they came up with this. Thing.
I like it better seeing him run. The Chrono Bowl thing should have just never been.
If they made it more of a mystery where he just woke up and everything was different, and he had to figure out, like, holy shit, I fucked with time, I think that's a better visual for the movie than anything that they did.
I don't disagree, and it definitely would have been more interesting. However,
I agree that I like the time tunnel also, but I think for storytelling purposes, him waking up and his mom's alive and he's like, oh shit, what did I do? And then has to go on the adventure is better.
No, but we know exactly why they did it though. It's for later in the movie. It's for I'll just say it's for the cameos. They literally put that in there so that later on they thought they had this brilliant idea.
It's basically a MacGuffin.
Horrible cameos, which was horrendous. Which we'll get into the cameos later, but it's just garbage. You know what I mean? And I feel like I don't disagree that just having him wake up and, you know, almost like as the audience we're questioning what's happening at the same time as him would have been maybe played better. But
I don't know if it would have, in my opinion.
It may not have. You know, we'll never know, right? This is what we got. But
him waking up confused, I feel like,
I mean, it played great in the comic,
right? Yeah. But the whole purpose of this was knowing he's going back in time to do this, and him waking up confused, like, where am I? Why am I here? Like that would have been weird.
I just picture a show like Mandalorian. You see them traveling at the speed of light because that's what they're doing, which is essentially, you know, as you know what Barry does until he goes so fast he breaks the time. Was it the continuum? Is that what it's called?
Space-time continuum.
Space-time continuum. But like you could easily have him, to your point, Fred, you can have him running, you know, things are flying, maybe some visions are flying, then all of a sudden we see
just flashbacks
a blue splash of lightning and it knocks him out of that tunnel, and then, you know, he wakes up, and, you know, maybe at that point he wakes up in his bed and he's like, what the hell's going on? But so we get him traveling back in time to 2001. Is that what it is? Or whenever the year is?
Something like that.
And his parents are still alive, so it's the whole Flashpoint at that point. You know, he knows he saved his parents, but
it's Flashpoint, but it's not. Like, that's the problem.
It's
the problem is they could have given us just Flashpoint from the comics, and everybody would have been happy. But they had to add in a second fucking Ezra Miller for some goddamn reason.
Arguably the worst decision. As much as people don't like Ezra Miller in general, they added another one. And not only did
it was my nightmare. It was my nightmare.
No, you said it in the trailer or before the movie was even fully out yet. But this other Ezra Miller, they made the decision to make him more annoying. Literally so annoying that he annoys the Ezra Miller that already annoys us.
He was so annoying that I kind of liked the annoying Ezra Miller. Like,
because he was yelling at himself. It was nice to see him be like, act like an adult, you son of a bitch.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
oh, yeah.
I'm like, why is this annoying one seeming more logical than the more annoying one?
So then we get, I guess one of the first time paradoxes, which is basically if Ezra Miller, the main Flash, basically says, if you don't get your powers, then I don't exist anymore. And he's scared that he's going to disappear from time, which, might not happen. I think according to what happens later in the movie, I guess that would have happened.
Who knows?
No, it wouldn't have happened because he was thinking Back to the Future.
He was thinking Back to the Future.
Right, but then at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, the bad Flash kills young Flash that makes bad Flash disappear. So why would that happen if this wouldn't have made
nothing in the movie made any sense?
It makes
Chris.
no sense. It's not consistent. You know what I mean? The whole movie, to your point.
Listen, when it comes to
what happens in the Chrono Bowl stays in the Chrono Bowl.
No, but to your point, this whole movie felt like Flashpoint-ish. Exactly. They were kind of like, oh, let's put multiple Flashes in there, but we're just gonna make them all Ezra Miller. We're not gonna have any of the million other speedsters that are in the comic books.
Every time travel movie has to set their own rules for what they think time travel is, and then the movie has to abide by those rules. And this one didn't,
except for this one. This one gave us
it set its own rules and then just threw all the rules out the window at the end, which made no fucking sense.
Yeah. And I actually kind of liked the explanation of time.
I did too.
That Bruce was doing with the whole spaghetti and
people complain about it online, but I thought it made sense.
Yeah, it made sense. I was like, this is a great explanation on how time works, and they threw it out the window in their own movie, in the same movie. Like, it just made
so the explanation we get, just for anyone who listens to this at some point, is that basically time runs like a strand of spaghetti, but every time something's changed, every decision that's made, there's basically like another strand that's kind of dropped on top of it or whatever, and before you know it, you get a bowl of cooked spaghetti where strands are just crossing over each other and looping back into each other. It's like, like a tree with a million branches that just kind of grows back into itself, or like a river that has a bunch of what they call shoot-offs, whatever, that come back.
Deltas.
Yeah. And Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, tells us that that there are fixed points. The strands always cross, and at those spots, things have to happen. They're not easily changed. Which is basically Barry's mom dying, Bruce's parents dying, I guess a Kryptonian landing on Earth. What we find out in this movie, Batman has to die at some point, even though that doesn't make sense because in the original timeline, Batman doesn't die. So
but this is a whole new timeline, so it does make sense.
So that's not a fixed
point. Offshoot. So the fixed point for this,
that's basically that's the most I can muster for this movie.
I mean,
but we do get Michael Keaton's Batman, so we get the first official Bruce Wayne. He's got white hair.
He gives Barry his powers first.
Oh, that's right. I wanted to skip this part,
which made no fucking sense whatsoever.
Well, all right, it's fine. He gives Barry his powers, but in the process, he loses his own powers by getting
because the lightning struck him first, so it took all the for some reason. It took all the speed force out of him and put everything into new Barry.
Right. And again, let me remind
Barry getting hit by lightning, like that's gonna supercharge him. It's not gonna.
It should.
It's not gonna drain him.
Let me remind you, this is a guy who can travel so fast that even if he's standing still, everything is moving at super speed. So I see this is my problem with speed characters in just movies in general. If you have a character that can move that fast, they should never be hit by anything, because by the time they feel it's about to happen, they should be able to get out of the way.
So for him, lightning's moving quicker than he is,
I guess. But he's trying to
lightning's the only thing
Barry,
that can move as fast as him.
But how is he fighting?
Because lightning can't break the space-time continuum.
Exactly.
So he moves faster than lightning.
In that moment when he's got his back to it, he doesn't see the lightning. He's getting hit.
Let me ask you this question though. How does young Barry even fight him to get out of the way of the lightning? If he's the Flash, without young Barry even knowing, he should have had him tied up to a chair and just sitting there.
Yeah.
And then all of a
he
sudden,
could have instantly tied him to that chair.
By the time young Barry finishes saying the words, "I don't want to get struck by lightning," he should look down and go, "Oh, fuck." and just be there and can't do anything about it. There's never consistency with speed characters, except for maybe the Eternals character. They were pretty consistent with her speed and how much she, how fast she was.
Pretty good. Quicksilver was pretty good.
MCU,
yeah, but he just wasn't MCU Quicksilver, but he wasn't around long enough for us to, I guess, be able to pick him apart. So who knows?
Yeah.
But
I will say Barry losing his powers, that one scene of him trying to run was fantastic.
They finally made fun of it.
Yeah, that was great.
They finally called attention to the fact that silly ass
he runs like an idiot, and
just the dumbest idea ever.
Like when he gets down in the pose and he's like this and his legs are all crossed up. I'm like, what is he doing? Honestly, and I hate to say it, but those are the moments that make me actually like Ezra Miller as this character sometimes when he does shit like that.
But that's not him though. That's the writers. You know what I mean?
No, but I'm saying the look he gave it and everything, like how serious he was. Like that was him. Like
okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Zack Snyder did say that his whole idea behind the run was that he wanted it, instead of just a regular run, he wanted it to look like he was almost skating through the Speed Force. So he's supposed to be almost like a figure skater or a speed skater. Yeah. Okay, fine. The first time I saw it, I remember thinking that looks a little silly, but whatever. I kind of wish that somebody along the way made the decision to be like, well, you're getting more in tune with the Speed Force, so you don't need to do that. You can just run like a normal person. Yeah. But instead, they just enforce it and they keep doing it.
Yeah. You're more experienced. You know how to run and handle it. Like you don't need to be
again, Fred. To your point, we have Grant Gustin on the CW who just does this. And that looks better than a $220 million Flash movie. That looks better. But it was funny that they actually made fun of it. And even when he tries to phase through the wall, even the whole scene with his young self, like quickly learning how to phase and just basically causing
that annoyed the shit out of me because he was way too inexperienced to learn how to phase. That's like a major moment in the Flash where he gets strong enough to be able to phase.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, he did it like that.
The only reason I kind of understood it a little bit more in this, it didn't annoy me that much, is because two things. A, he had the power of both of them, right? And B, he had the other Flash there telling him exactly how to do it.
Right.
Whereas, so kind of like
it takes a while.
Whereas like the first time he had to figure it out on his own.
Yeah.
I guess.
Now he's got like somebody being like, no, this is what you have to do. And he's like,
yeah.
It did happen super fast, which was annoying, but I'm just saying, like, I kind of get what they were trying to do,
which makes sense. But
yeah, he had a coach, so it's a little bit different.
Besides the fact that him making fun of his run was actually a funny joke, the running joke that Michael J. Fox was not in Back to the Future in this new timeline, and it was actually what's his name?
It was a nice little detail. It was Eric Stoltz.
That was a fun detail, and I like how they kept bringing it back. And Barry's like, "Am I losing my mind?" And Michael J. Fox is, and they're like, "Dude, who the hell is Michael J. Fox?" Like,
yeah.
And then they run through like all the different. It was great because all of those different characters were up for those roles at one point in those movies. I wish they leaned
into that more. Like that kind of humor should have been the kind of humor we got, not the oh, I'm a virgin. Like that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so then, all right. So now we get to Michael Keaton.
So Barry's trying to hunt down the whole Justice League, and he realizes that
because it takes him a long time to realize that things are different for whatever reason. It takes him a long time. Besides the fact that he doesn't have his powers anymore, and he knows that he changed time, he does not understand that things are different. He's looking for Bruce Wayne, or I guess Bruce Wayne is the only constant, right? There's no Clark Kent. There's no not Gal Gadot. There's no Wonder Woman.
There's no Wonder Woman, which makes zero sense, also. But like because theoretically,
they were in time. She was just she would have been a small girl or something at that point.
There should have been Amazonians at least. You know what I mean?
Well, no, Wonder Woman's thousands of years old. So either way, like the point in time that he changes would have been after Wonder Woman was created.
Right. He knew her name. It's not like he still knows her as Wonder Woman. He knows she's Diana Prince.
Like, Wonder Woman's not 40, bro. She's like again, 2000.
You could have had Linda Carter be Wonder Woman, right? We're bringing all the old
like
back, right?
That's why that made no sense to me. The Cyborg thing made sense. The Bruce Wayne thing is so utterly frustrating, and then the Superman thing, like, okay.
Well, let's talk about that, dude.
This is my point. They brought in elements of Flashpoint, right? So Flashpoint the comic, huh?
Like, not really. Like, they only brought in the fact that he saved his mom and then changed things.
Well,
that's like the Flashpoint. That's it.
No. Because in Flashpoint, Superman is caught by the Russians, and it is held in a bunker like that. Very, very, very accurate. Okay. But it's not Superman in this movie. It's Supergirl for some reason.
Right. Just because they, for whatever reason, they just hate Henry Cavill. I don't know why.
I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. But I mean, that's
they
very
universally love Superman. They're like, no, fuck him. No, fuck him. Right? Yeah. He grew a mustache and ruined our Justice League.
Zero.
He's never coming back. Nah.
However, she was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought she was great. I mean, we'll get more into that, I guess, later, but I thought she was great. But so he goes to find Batman. Yeah. And he looks up Bruce Wayne, drives to his house. In the Flashpoint comic book, Batman in the new timeline is Thomas Wayne.
Yes.
In this one, the trailers, all the pre-release stuff said this is Bruce Wayne from the 1989 Batman movie, from the original Tim Burton Batman movie. They gave him the costume. He's got the Batmobile. Yeah. But this was not the Batman from that movie or that series. It's just a Batman that happens to look like that guy. That's all it is. It's not the same dude, which is annoying to me because that's not what you promised us. What you promised us is that we were going to see the Flash in the Tim Burton DC world. You know what I mean? I know the trailers didn't show that, but that's like what I wanted when they first announced that Keaton was coming back. Instead, it's just nostalgia. They just said, look, let's just try and
that's all it was,
take a page out of Marvel's book and bring Keaton back. And we were all excited. We all fell for it. You know what I mean?
And I thought he did great.
I actually liked it. I thought he was good too. I thought he was one of the better parts of the movie.
I thought he didn't hold up.
Well, I don't know. I actually, so for me, I was going in thinking he was going to be trash, not because Michael Keaton's bad, but because like he's old and like
I think it had less to do with. I think it had less to do with Keaton's performance and more to do with all of that 1989 Batman stuff doesn't hold up in today's world.
Well, yeah.
Like him not being able to turn his neck still. Like I wanted to fucking put a gun through the screen.
I thought that was so great.
Dude, it was so stupid, bro. And honestly, like the bat plane didn't look great. Like it just none of it translated to this future version of superheroes that we've been getting for X amount of years. To me,
I mean, it screamed nostalgia. That was the only reason why.
I mean, that's all it was. It just screamed like, oh, we get to see like 1989 Batman again. Like that's all it was. Keaton, I mean, in all honesty, like I know everybody loves Michael Keaton as Batman, and I loved Michael Keaton as Batman also, but it's just like it felt flat. It felt really flat to me.
I just think so. I agree with your point about him not being able to turn his neck. I don't understand why they didn't at least have a joke where Barry's like, "Oh, what's this suit?" And he's like, "Oh, that was my first one, but I had issues with that." And he has an upgraded suit where he can actually turn his head.
They showed him like 10 different suits.
So that's my point. They showed 19 suits, and he picks the one that doesn't turn his head.
Focused on it, and honestly,
like the shot that you're showing on the screen right now, he can't do in that suit because he can't look down.
What it made me feel though is like instead of Michael Keaton's Batman, they should have brought Christian Bale's Batman back. I would rather.
No, I never want to see Christian Bale's Batman again.
No, I would have been okay. Yeah. Listen, in a goofy movie like this, Christian Bale's Batman fits better.
Right. In this movie,
and all that stuff,
you could have had anybody come in and it would have been.
Yeah, they should have just let Affleck do it.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I guess he didn't want. They already spent $220 million in this movie. They were like, we don't want to pay Affleck now. I know. Which I'm like, you should.
And honestly, like the fact that this wasn't Thomas Wayne and it was Bruce Wayne, like they should have just made him Thomas Wayne.
I agree with that. It's like, it was so annoying. Once I realized that this wasn't what we were being promised, essentially, then you didn't need to have him play Bruce Wayne. You could have called him Thomas Wayne. It would have at least fit and been taken from the comic books and would have been a little more accurate to the story you're trying to tell versus bringing back Michael Keaton. Make that Batman. It just didn't make any sense.
And then your time paradox later on, where he has to die, makes sense because Thomas Wayne has to die.
Right. In order for the real Batman to become, his parents had to go. So, like, okay, that makes sense. But with that, we basically get an action scene because they somehow convince him, for whatever reason, to help them save Supergirl, who's also on the screen. And probably my favorite Supergirl costume.
Well, they do think it's Superman.
Well, yeah. I know. Well, yeah, it's all right. So they do think it's Superman. They go and they basically save this girl because Barry just feels bad for her. And it turns out that she is Kryptonian and the sun gives her powers and all that nonsense. But I agree with you, Fred. I thought she was awesome.
Best part of this movie. Best part
She
of the
was
story.
amazing. And if Gunn is adopting the comic movie that she's going to be this dark, angry version of Supergirl, then this Supergirl, I forget her name, the actress.
Sasha Calle, I think is how you say it.
Yeah. She needs to be the one doing that, because in this movie she showed what an angry Supergirl can be like, and I don't want to see anything else. I want to see her do it because she was fantastic.
How did you feel about her proving her powers were fully restored by spitting at a gargoyle? I thought that was a silly scene. I thought that was dumb. She hocked a loogie.
I thought it was super breath. I thought it was super breath.
Yeah, I thought she just went.
Honestly, what would have been a better decision, and let me just zoom in when I say this, it would have been a better decision if she had a little like meter on her forearm that said peak superpowers, and that's how you knew she was
sun rejuvenation complete.
Yeah, that would have been that would have been flawless to me if she was just like, if he was like, "Are your powers back?" and she was like, "Let me check
the meter."
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. If she's like flying and she's all of a sudden she's like, "Wait a minute, I'm low on gas, need to pull over," and she pulls over to an in-air gas tank that basically she can refill.
She pulls over to a tanning salon.
Yeah. She sits in the chair with the thing on her head, and she's like, "Oh, that's the stuff, unleaded, please." I don't know. I thought her outfit was cool. I did like her. I agree with you. Her brutality and kind of intensity was awesome.
Yeah,
but
I really enjoyed this version of Supergirl from Fred, what you were saying before about like if Gunn wants to go with that version. I don't know if you read. Have you read the book that he's based on? What is it? Tomorrow.
Oh, I'll look it up.
It's where she's like off on a different planet.
Yeah, no, it's I've read. It's the
I don't remember the name.
It's the Tim version of it. I don't agree that this is the right Supergirl to play it, only because she doesn't have the same look, and it's not as violent as this or angry as this. It's a different type of version that's dealing more with like technology and differences like that.
How Gunn explains it in that,
I get what you're saying.
That's kind of how, I guess, to me, how he wants Supergirl to be portrayed.
Yeah, I see where you're going with it. I just read the book, so I mean, like the book that he's specifically cited that he's placing it off of. My phone died, so I can't even look it up right now. But
either way, I don't think it's official that she's going to continue to be Supergirl, which is a little ridiculous.
I mean, I don't think so either. But that Supergirl also, like, how do you think this Supergirl would look with long blonde hair?
I don't think Supergirl needs long blonde hair.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a Superman or Supergirl fan. I think they're both boring.
That's the version that Gunn was going with, though.
What bothers me is that I was never a fan of Superman. I always thought he was a dumb character.
Change it, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I always thought he was a dumb character, and then Henry Cavill shows up and makes him like kind of brooding and a little more like human feeling. And I was like, okay, I like this guy. Let's keep going. And then they were like, nah, we're not going to bring him back. And then she comes in.
Why?
Right. Why would we do that? Everyone wants it, so let's not do that. And then she comes in, and I'm thinking like, okay, like this is going to be a silly character, and she's vicious and gruesome and whatever. And I was like, I can get into this. And now they're like, yeah, she's not coming back either. I'm like, all right.
Did they announce she's not coming back?
Not officially, but she's basically hinted over and over again that she hasn't had any conversations and no one's approached her. And I mean, that doesn't mean anything,
Right,
maybe she's.
It doesn't. That Supergirl movie's far off.
Yeah,
right. So who knows? I hope they do though, and I hope they don't change the costume too much because I really like the Supergirl.
I love this costume. I love this costume.
Again, Cavill's costume was cool too, but like I feel like this is like the perfect Supergirl costume. I really just liked it so much.
Yeah, because I was never a big fan of like the Supergirl with the skirt.
Yeah. And really any hero though with the skirt to me is always just weird. Like it's just not. That's a very, very much a product of the old school sexist kind of times. And, while I'll still read those comics and I'm not judging anybody for those times, we need to upgrade that kind of shit. And hers was good for sure. But so we get Supergirl is now rescued, right? We get a funny moment, in my opinion, when they need to explode. Well, again, first of all, Flash gets shot, which I just, you shouldn't. You're so fast. You should never get shot, but whatever.
I mean, he's still learning his powers, though.
Yeah. But
and remember, he yells out, "We can get shot," because he thought he was bulletproof.
I know, but just because you call it out doesn't mean that it makes sense. But anyway, so now they can't run super fast anymore because the Flash
It
got
makes
shot.
sense because they established he's a fucking idiot in the whole movie. That's why it might make sense.
But anyway,
Correct.
the funny moment to me
correct.
though was when Batman needs to set up the explosion to shoot them out of the silo, and I love how he starts doing the math real quick, and like it just kind of shows how human he is in this world of superheroes. And it's such a Adam West Batman thing when he pulls out the tape measure from his bat belt, from his utility belt. That just cracked me up. You know, it's a silly thing, but it cracked me up. But so they save Supergirl. They get back to the Batcave. Batman and Barry have a little heart-to-heart. Supergirl goes off because she's mad. And Barry, the main Barry, Prime Barry, says, I need to get my powers back. We ain't doing shit with my idiot young self in charge. So he sets up the whole test. First he says, I need to be covered in chemicals and struck by lightning. Then they don't cover him in chemicals. They just strap him to a chair. Okay, fine. I'll move past it. He gets struck by lightning.
They had the chemicals around him.
Oh yeah. They just don't cover him.
Yeah.
I thought that they were going to IV him, or I don't know what they were going to do, but they showed the chemicals, so they were there.
I thought the lightning was going to come through the chemicals and splash on him, but
which is what I thought. So when he got struck by lightning and it didn't work, I thought they were going to be like, "Oh wait, we forgot the chemicals."
Right.
But no, instead, Supergirl flies him up into the sky and into a storm cloud. That works. The power of love. I don't know. I don't. Oh God, this movie sucks. I don't know. Why did that work? In Zuplex, we talked a little bit offline. I know you said that that's similar to how it was done in the comics.
Well, it's similar to how it's done because like Batman has to shock him a couple of times. Like it doesn't go right the first time.
I'm okay with it not working the first time. I'm okay with that.
The second bolt of lightning is what does it. But
why? Like why did she have to fly him up? They make such a point of her. I got you, and she flies him up.
There's also an underlying thing that
it was because the kite was busted and it wasn't going to conduct any more electricity.
Right.
I think that's what he said.
What would have been better
is
if she grabbed him by like the collar and basically like, no, don't worry, I got this, and just threw him into the cloud. That's it. Great. Like don't fly him up, just toss him and be like, don't worry, I'll catch him. Like
so there's a part of the Flash mythos that like I wasn't really explained in this movie, but it's that like Barry.
You sure about that?
Yeah, no, like Barry is predisposed to the actual Speed Force entering it. Like,
right?
He's one of the. There's very few beings that like anybody else that got doused with those chemicals and got struck by the lightning probably would have died unless it was like Wally West or or a part
of the other speedsters that we find.
Any of the other speedsters,
Godspeed,
right? Like,
Savitar.
So
Zoom,
the lightning,
Reverse Flash.
Yeah,
Dark Flash, Black Flash. I mean, I don't know, like 700 more speedsters. They're all okay. There's a negative Speed Force too that apparently exists.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
there is. I'm telling you, Flash comics get weird, man.
Yeah, they do get weird. They get weird with it.
So I kind of like that's why it didn't bother me as much though, because I was like, all right, it's Barry. Like he gets hit by lightning.
I got he was gonna get his powers back, but there's no explanation as to why being thrown into the cloud got him his powers and not just
they should have just let him strike him twice with it. Like I don't know, there was an odd decision to have her fly him up.
Or
I think
have
it was
her,
no, it was because he said like the kite was busted.
No, I understand, but it was an odd decision to have the kite be busted in the first place as far as like storytelling.
Yeah.
What would have made more sense is if they had young idiot Flash. If they basically explained to him, look, if you run really fast, you can generate lightning or electricity.
Shoot a lightning bolt at him.
That at least would have been a part of like the Flash, But whatever, he gets his powers back and fine. We do get like the little cool. It is a kind of a cool scene when he activates the ring and gets into the suit and he feels just better in it. And I like the little joke of young Flash basically built a suit, but made room for his crotch, so it wasn't as tight. That was funny, I guess. Him spray painting an old Batman suit red. It's a cool visual. It's clearly just to sell a toy or something.
It looked fucking stupid.
Yeah, it honestly.
When he's grinding down the ears of the bat suit, I was like, "Oh my god, please let's not do."
What's funny? This is how much of a dork we are, though, because when they showed him doing that, I thought to myself, "Aren't there electronics in those ears? Like, you're ruining the electronics." Like Bruce put a lot of work into that. So whatever. But now we get the big showdown. So basically, the storyline is that this is the same moment that Zod came down in Man of Steel. And he basically asks the world, I need Clark or the Kryptonian. at the time, we think it's Clark Kent. It ends up being Supergirl. She goes, the humans don't give Zod the Kryptonian Earth fast enough, and she watches Zod kill a bunch of humans.
Yeah.
So that basically makes her go, even though humans treated me like shit for ever since I landed here, I'm still gonna fight on their side. Okay, whatever. It's a superhero movie. I can get past that. Then we get the big final set piece. It's Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman, Supergirl, two Flashes against technically the U.S. Army and the Kryptonians that came with Zod.
Yeah,
because no one knows they're around, so everyone's kind of against them.
An army of Kryptonians.
An army of Kryptonians, not just the three of them that were here the first time, because there was only three. As far
Who
as I
in the
remember.
first movie destroyed like 3 cities.
Yeah.
Right. In this one, they said, no, we're not gonna make the same mistake. We're gonna be in a random desert, and yeah, so we get an action scene. It felt very like they ran out of ideas. You know what I mean? Nothing about it seemed like interesting. You have two Flashes. I feel like you can get creative with it. $220 million budget. I don't know if I've said that before. And it all looked garbage. It looked blurry. It looked kind of rushed. To Scythe, to your point, it's the Zack Snyder like muted colors, brown and gray everywhere. Even though we're supposed to have yellow lightning and red suits. A lot of it was garbage. But we find out that essentially we see Bruce Wayne. Michael Keaton's Batman sacrifice himself to try and stop the big Kryptonian guy. I don't remember his name. We see Supergirl gets killed. Essentially, she has, in this timeline, she has the Kryptonian genetic DNA or whatever it is to recreate Krypton. Yeah. So Zod kills her. And it is Michael Shannon as Zod.
She goes berserk because Zod killed Superman.
Right.
Yes.
Off screen.
Off screen. But
we don't even know if it was Cavill's
Spider-Man. That's what made me like, yeah, I want her as this new Supergirl because she was just fucking brutal, man.
I thought she was great. Again, her action scenes were cool. Even seeing Batman.
Again, she's the best part of this movie by far.
100%. But seeing Michael Keaton's Batman 1v1, the big dude, and just basically like climbing around them and dropping bombs.
I loved Michael Keaton's Batman. I thought it was.
I liked it. Yeah, I didn't hate it.
I thought his fighting was dope. It was fun to see him as Batman again and his Bruce Wayne and everything.
Right.
It was cheeky, but it was
cheeky, but it was still fun.
Ultimately,
and I had a good time watching it.
I agree. I enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
It still wasn't as good as the 10 minutes of fucking Ben Affleck we got.
That's the thing. Is like that's my problem, right? Is like the 40 minutes of Michael Keaton that we got in this movie is still not as good as the 10 minutes of Affleck.
Can we talk about what might be the absolute worst line in the entire movie? And that's saying something because this movie had a lot of them.
Is it the "Let's get nuts"?
No,
I didn't like that line though. That was a great call.
He says it to the Joker. It didn't make sense in that part.
No, the Joker says it. Yeah.
Listen. All right, that's again nostalgia. That's all it is. It was just for nostalgia.
I did see him say it though.
The worst line in this movie though is after both Barrys screw up and they don't work together, and then they have a quick chat. And this time they chat in the middle of a war zone, but not at super speed. Yeah. So they all stand there. They stand around and talk while everyone else could kill them,
knowing that they can get shot.
Yes, but they decide we're going to work together, right? And then Prime Barry says, "What is it?" He goes, "Come on, Barbie," and then Silly Barry says, "Let's go party," and that was supposed to be like
it was so stupid.
God. Again, I don't know. At that moment in the theater, there was a couple next to me, and the guy looked at his girlfriend and said, "I can't anymore. Can we go?" And she said, "Yep." And he got up and walked out of the theater.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
That was it. Which I'm like, you lasted longer than I expected. Like I really wanted to leave a lot earlier, but I was determined to see all the cameos that I knew were coming.
Real quick, but I just want to clarify something. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King.
That's what it is. Yeah,
that's the book you want to read if you want to understand who's the director. I'm blanking a lot tonight. I'm sorry.
That's because it doesn't matter. James Gunn is going to really wow us.
So if you want to understand what James Gunn's talking about, the type of version of Supergirl he's talking about, read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King. That's
James
the book.
Gunn is going to have to. He's going to have to not
talk about James Gunn.
Not just knock one out of the park. He's going to have to really grand slam this thing to make a lot of people care.
Anyone else worried about James Gunn's DCU more now than before this movie came out?
I'm gonna say no, only because I understand that he probably had a hand in how this one ended to try and sort of set up whatever he's doing. That. But like, I don't know. I feel like once he has full control, and we see, to me, it's like we won't judge until his Superman comes out.
The reason why I bring this up is
that the first one?
That's the first one.
Superman?
Superman, yeah.
What's his
that
Superman
so basically Blue Beetle's the first character that's going to be a part of his DCU we're meeting,
right?
But the first movie that he is legit writing, directing, Superman. Producing, like he's got full control, Kevin Feige control, is Superman.
Yeah,
and that's all him. He's directing it and everything. So like, it all relies on that. If that does not do well, then the entire DCU is basically destined to fail. He needs that one
this
to be
weird ass
Guardians.
casting he just did.
But the thing is,
I don't think it's that weird of casting though, dude. I honestly don't.
Guardians of the Galaxy, when that was first announced and that cast was announced, everyone thought that was weird casting. Nobody thought Dave Bautista would be a good Drax. No one thought Chris Pratt would be a good Star Lord.
Nobody even knew the characters, to be honest.
Right.
Like,
well, that's
they were like, yeah, what is this?
It was an odd. It was an odd.
That's definitely true. But
all right. So my point was, he's probably just being a company man now that he's like the king of DC. But he made it a point multiple times to say that this was one of the best superhero films ever put together. If that's the best superhero film put together, then his vision of the DCU moving forward could be a little suspect if he thinks that's the bar.
I think it was more company man, like you said. I think he was just
I hope so, because if he
company line a little bit, just being like, hey.
Truly believe that, then we might be in trouble.
What's funny is I thought about that big time when this movie was over. Like, was that him just lying? Just flat out trying to build hype for this movie?
It
wasn't just him though.
Wait, did he really say it too? He's like,
he said it.
He said it multiple times.
He legit tweeted. I mean, he didn't just say it like in an interview somewhere. He flat out tweeted, it's one of the most moving superhero movies ever that he's ever seen. And he's not the only one though. A lot of other actors that aren't even in this movie.
Maybe he saw the first version that didn't get cut up.
Well,
maybe.
But so basically during this final fight, just going back to the movie, during the final fight, we see Batman sacrifice himself. We see Supergirl lose to Zod, right? And this is Michael Shannon Zod, who, why
was a waste.
Like it literally, they just CG'd over a helmet because like there was no point for him to be back.
He was so like underpowered and like not scary of a villain compared to how he was in Man of Steel. Man of Steel, you're like, oh,
I just think they didn't give him enough.
But he wasn't really the villain. I mean, we'll get to who the real bad guy was, but really there was no real villain of the piece.
He was the villain of that moment.
Sure.
He didn't feel strong to me.
But what made Zod so great in the Superman movie was the whole movie of him being Michael Shannon. Basically,
right.
And you got so much time with him that he was able to like really like.
Yeah, I guess they were banking on your love for his character.
Like this was so fast that you didn't really get that slow roll of him building to the Zod character.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I 100% agree with that. But the main point here is that we find out. So young and old Barry decide, we're losing this battle. Let's just reverse it real quick. Let's go back in time and we'll fix it.
Let's fuck with the timeline again, boys.
Right. So they haven't learned anything yet. They go back a few seconds or a few minutes, whatever it is, and they prevent the two deaths from happening for 30 seconds because then they happen again. Then they go back in time and it happens again. And then we see a quick montage basically.
They go back to
Michael Keaton's Batman get killed over and over
back
again.
in time. They go back to the Chrono Bowl.
Well,
multiple times.
Now we're getting
Chrono Bowl. Now we're gonna get into the Chrono Bowl scene. I love this scene.
So we see. I guess so. The point is, we see young Barry, who doesn't have nearly as much experience as old Barry, even though old Barry should have known better by now anyway. That we see him unable to let go of the fact that they cannot control this moment. That Batman and Supergirl have to die. Yeah,
he's in love with Supergirl
because he liked her suit.
Yeah,
and he liked the fact that she spit at a gargoyle. And we see the more experienced Babby. Yeah. We see the more experienced Barry essentially say, this is a fixed point. We can't change that. And he starts to realize he's got to let his mom die. He's got to go back and undo that part. And now we get the reveal of the main villain, which was Black Flash. And Dark Flash, sorry. Not to be racist. So I know that there's a character in the comics that kind of keeps almost like getting shrapnel as like some sort of armor, and we see that happening with young Barry. It was an okay visual, I guess, but we basically see that young Barry is stuck in the chrono ball for so long.
He looked like a monster that Rita Repulsa created.
100%. He looked like Goldar if they forgot to put gold in Goldar. And let me see.
He was a putty.
Find Dark Flash. I gotta find an image. Let me see if I can find an image of both versions, because like just a horrible.
I'm sending you the comic image right now.
I hated that they went with this Dark Flash. It would have made more sense if they just went with time wraiths, because time wraiths protect the timeline and they go after the speedster that's fucking up the timeline.
Yeah, but what you're not understanding is that would have made sense, and they weren't trying to make sense.
I know. I'm saying like I don't get why they just didn't do it.
I'm not a big fan of the time wraiths thing, but
can I just show you guys this real quick?
I understand why they like the whole idea of going with Dark Flash was just so they can have a second Ezra Miller in this movie.
So hold on. This Dark Flash here is not from the Flash movie. This is from the TV show. How cool does that Dark Flash look? It's like a zombified Flash with a black outfit. He looks vicious and mean and whatever.
That's the time wraith Flash. Yeah.
This is the Dark Flash we get in the movie. We get
you see the comic version I sent you?
Half Rita Repulsa. Hold on, I'm pulling the comic.
It actually is close to the comic version. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it? Hold on. Let's see. Let's open this image here. Wait, what the hell? Why didn't it open?
Is half bloater, half Flash.
It won't let me open that image. Did you send me a picture?
Yeah.
I can't.
Wait, hold on.
Either. Oh yeah, I think I sent you a link. My fault. Hold on.
It's half bloater, half Flash. I mean, it reminds you of the bloater from Last of Us. This is the bad guy we got, and it turns out that this is young Barry stuck in the chrono bowl for however long. Oh, here we go. I can do that one. 1 second. Let's open this.
Pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's close. It's close. That's what he looks like after he's been stuck in the chrono bowl for so long.
Chrono bowl.
So stupid. So
fucking
stupid.
Dumb.
So dumb.
So fucking dumb.
Well, we get the chrono bowl scene while Chris is bringing this up.
Yeah, hold on. Let me bring this up now.
And Barry are trying to.
Not only were you annoyed by 2 Barrys, but they added a third.
A third Barry who looks nothing like Barry.
Now you find out that it was Dark Flash that knocked him out of the time loop in the first place. Yeah, that's
right. So it's basically he's a loophole. He's basically
hold on. He knocked him out of the Speed Force at this specific time to make sure that he gets created.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Which
he's a fixed point.
Well, he's stuck in a loop. That's the problem, right? That's how he becomes basically a time wraith.
So we see Dark Flash is going to kill the Prime Flash because he feels if he kills him, then he can get out of his time loop and go back and keep trying to save Batman and Supergirl. And when he goes to stab Prime Flash, young Flash dives in front of him and takes the stab wound for Prime Flash, which then causes Dark Flash to disappear because he no longer exists, considering he just killed himself in a loophole.
Yeah.
Even though we were already told that if you make changes to the past, it doesn't really affect, it affects everything. It doesn't affect the future.
They're in the
but it would affect his specific spaghetti strand.
His strand, right?
Yes.
But in that process, now this is where we get to the big nostalgia
while also
trip.
Creating other spaghetti strands.
Yeah. This is the nostalgia trip we get. So the whole point of the Chrono Bowl, we find out at this moment, was just so we could see all these different worlds clash. And in that, we get Christopher Reeve Superman. We get the original Supergirl. I can't remember her name now, and I apologize for that. But we get her showing up in Christopher Reeve's Superman world. We get Nicolas Cage's Superman fighting a giant spider, which was basically a movie that never came out.
I did enjoy that little thing.
Except for the way it looked.
Well, it looked terrible.
The CGI was bad, but I appreciated all the cameos.
I appreciated the joke.
I enjoyed it.
But you want to hear how bad the CGI was? Nicolas Cage was on set to film his scene. They said after the fact that he actually filmed his moment for that role, and that's how bad it looked. Still, they had Nicolas Cage there. Oh God, I can't.
And they even had Adam West.
I was gonna say we get Adam West Batman. We get a quick shot of basically of a Bruce of
we
Ben
get
Affleck's Batman.
the George Reeves
Superman shows up.
Yeah,
we get what looked like the original Flash, Jay Garrick from the Flash CW show, but apparently that wasn't him. It just happened to look like him.
Yeah.
But we get the original Flash essentially. We get all these cameos. And they're all in
except for the one that we wanted.
Who didn't we get though?
We didn't get
the one that we wanted. We didn't get.
We didn't get Wally West. No, we didn't get fucking Grant Gustin. Literally,
Grant Gustin.
Universally.
They filmed the fucking movie as he's filming the season on CW.
Right.
He was available.
Right,
he's available.
Not only that,
and
we
Ezra
saw
was in the show.
DC.
Right, Ezra
DC.
appeared in Grant Gustin in CW's.
Stand in front of
universe.
this green screen and film a 5-second fucking clip so we can add you to the movie.
Of you just standing there saluting. That's all we need you to do.
We just needed you to do something.
Honestly, what would have been cool is if we see Grant Gustin's Flash, like, running, doing his thing, and he senses like that the chronoball
and he bursts through the
and he basically says to
erases all of them. That's
it would have been cool if he like looks at Ezra Miller, like the main Flash, and is like
crazy.
He's like, you got to stop, you can't do this. Almost like he kind of teaches him, since he's the Flash for the last 9 years. Let him teach this new Flash how to be Flash.
They made a point.
Listen, I've been fucking with the timeline for 9 years. Yeah. Stop.
He's like, I've tried this over. I've tried every which way. You can't.
What makes this like crazy is on the CW show, Ezra Miller pops up.
Yes.
In his universe,
in the Crisis of Infinite Earths crossover.
Yeah, exactly. So Ezra Miller proves that he can run that fast and get to another multiverse.
Right.
At that point in time, right? And he pops up on the CW. Why couldn't Grant pop up in the movie? It's always that weird thing. Marvel did the same thing, which would piss me off all the time.
Right.
They would use characters on the show and they would pull from the movie a little bit. Like you would get Lady Sif and Cole, like Cole. You had a whole show on Cole.
You're talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah. And like they would pull from the movies, right? But they would never return it. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like the movies wouldn't.
Well, now they are. I mean, there was an explanation for that in the Marvel, business wise,
was dog shit.
But honestly, there was. Honestly, I'll do you one better. Instead of having Grant Gustin film a new scene for this movie, they could have just used the same exact scene of Ezra Miller and Grant Gustin talking to each other, and just basically said that in this movie, when Ezra Miller's messing with the time, he accidentally stops, and that moment happens. They could have just used the same scene. They literally could have gone into the archives
100%
and said, boom, here you go. There's your Grant Gustin cameo. He wouldn't have even had to be on set or filmed any new lines. And for us, fans of the show, it would have been like, that's an awesome, like, kind of, that's what happened. That's how he got there. That's cool shit. You know,
would have been a great way to add Grant Gustin in, besides of him just taking over.
Fire Ezra Miller and let Grant Gustin.
Because obviously that's what we all want. We want him to take over.
We should have just had a weird plasticky CG version. Just
no. So in the show, they show Barry go back to the point in time where his mother gets killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I know where you're going with this, and I agree.
Future flashes telling him, like, no, stay away, let it happen.
Yes.
You could have easily had Ezra Miller's Flash go back into that point in time a couple times and had Grant Gustin appear and be like, hey, watch out, like, don't do this type of thing.
Yeah,
like, that would have been a perfect way to have him cameo. But like, hey, I've been here 1,000 times. Don't do this.
Listen, Grant Gustin appearing in this movie for half a second would have improved the whole quality of this movie.
And it just shows that you're showing love to somebody who played the character for 9 fucking seasons.
Who arguably made the Flash one of the more popular DC characters. Yeah. I know he was always a popular DC character, but that show became the best CW superhero show.
It made me more invested in the character. 100%, 1,000%.
There's a lot of people.
They did things on that show that like you never thought they were going to see. Yeah. We saw Gorilla Grodd and King Shark on that show.
Yeah,
and
it didn't look like shit
in this movie.
Yeah.
The CG for them worked. There was never a moment where you
the
thought
lightning effects, their running effects,
when they did that alien invasion episodes, the CG was kind of terrible.
I mean for Gorilla God and
on their
Gorilla Grodd and Shark. Just for those two characters in particular, I'm saying the CG
those two characters
was always top notch. And that's a CW weekly TV show. This is a 200. Let me say it again: $220 million Hollywood big budget production that took 10 years to be fucking.
You know what's wild? We just talked about
they couldn't even fucking CG a baby,
right?
Let me tell you something. We just talked about Bad Boys. We found out, Fred. Do you know what the budget was in the original Bad Boys movie?
$20 million.
Very close. 19.
Yes, yeah, $19 million.
$19 million, and that the action in that looked better than the action.
Way better. Like
it blows my mind.
It's so frustrating, man. Because and again, this movie was pretty much the last hurrah for anything old school DCEU related to make anybody kind of be like, all right, at least it went out with a bang. And they just, I mean, clearly people didn't care. Nobody went out to see it. It did horrible in its second week. We're not even done with the movie yet, though, because after Dark Flash stabs young Barry and then they both disappear, Prime Flash says, all right, I got to go back and I got to let my mom die. Basically, that's the only way I can undo this. So he goes back and he basically removes the can of tomatoes, which the way he saved his dad originally was he put the can of tomatoes in his mom's shopping cart so she didn't forget it and didn't send his dad back. So this time he goes right after he removed it. The Prime Flash is right there. He takes it out of the cart. It's a nice emotional scene. He says goodbye to his mom and
he puts the tomatoes. He reorganizes the tomatoes so that they're on the
again,
top shelf.
It wouldn't be Barry. It wouldn't be the Flash if he didn't continue even after learning that he shouldn't fuck with time to fuck with time. And this time he says, "Let me move it up ahead, up top."
What drives me crazy is it was a perfect opportunity after you do the tomato thing, right?
Yeah.
For him to go back. And to make sure the event happens, he has to relive the event, right?
Well, dude, can I tell you something?
Why?
Before you finish, can I tell you something? The director confirmed what you and I were talking about with the mom dying. He confirmed that we're right. So go ahead. Say what you're going to say. That reverse Flash is the one that killed her.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's how it should have been.
But he says it. So it's already now confirmed that's the person who killed the mom. So why didn't they show us?
Why didn't they show us exactly
anything? Yellow lightning.
What did they confirm?
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted Fred. Sorry, Fred. Go ahead.
So
tell him how you think it should have ended.
He should have went back to the house to make sure the events took place to put him back on his timeline that he still fucked up anyway.
Yeah.
It should have been him seeing the act of her getting killed, because up until that point, we still don't know how she dies. They just show her dead. And
she's just stabbed in the stomach.
She's just stabbed in the stomach. She's dead. But that was a perfect opportunity for him to just peek around the corner or through the window, and you see the fucking lightning zooming around the kitchen, and you just see the reverse Flash. And if the idea was to have a Flash 2, and at that point of making the movie, the idea was to have a Flash 2, that was your kickoff point to establish a villain for the next movie. I need to go after this motherfucker because he's the one that did it.
And since then, the director has confirmed that the plan for a sequel, if there ever is a sequel, is to have Reverse Flash be revealed as the killer of his mom.
So now that means in Flash 2, we need to watch the mom thing for a 7th time.
Yep.
And then add the fucking Reverse Flash.
Right. No, instead what we get is Barry takes the tomato soup out of his mom's cart. So she's got to send the father back to the store to get it so she can get killed. But this time, the problem is on the surveillance footage early in the movie, his dad never looks up at the camera because he reaches down to grab the can. So Barry, not learning any lessons, says, I'm going to put the can up top, and then my dad will look up. So we fast forward now to he's back in what we think is the main timeline. He goes to court because his appeal is going through or whatever. And they look at this footage, and sure enough, his dad looks up. He's got an alibi. He's out of jail. Everyone's super happy. Barry's excited. He fixed the timeline, blah, blah, blah. He gets a call from Bruce Wayne congratulating him. And then we get the big cameo. I guess this was the big secret cameo. Bruce Wayne now is no longer Ben Affleck. It's George Clooney. Again, it's not the George Clooney from the Joel Schumacher Batman, because that wouldn't make sense. it's George Clooney, just for the fact of George Clooney. Is he the new Batman in the DCU? We don't know. Is he going to teach the new Batman or Nightwing or whoever? No, probably not. He's just there to end this movie.
The way I'm hoping this all shakes out with James Gunn is that this is just another timeline, a different multiverse. He's going to start his own shit. Blue Beetle's going to be a part of that. We're going to get into Superman Legacy, Batman and Robin, all of that stuff. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, like all of those things will be in the new James Gunn Prime storyline, and we can forget that all of this ever happened. Please, God.
I don't know, man.
So my original thought was, I loved seeing George Clooney because it was just fun to see George Clooney. I'm always a sucker for the cameo. It is what it is. But at the same time, I'm like, well, now the ending of this movie makes no fucking sense because everything is broken, and now we're to believe that moving forward in this world, George Clooney's now the Batman again, and he's gonna be Batman because there's no fixing that timeline unless he goes back in time again. So that made zero sense to me. But then the thought kicked in, if this is truly going to be the reset that James Gunn wanted, then George Clooney being the Batman in the Snyderverse, now granted this is still the Snyderverse, then yeah, that kind of ends the Snyderverse, and Clooney lives on as Batman moving forward in the Elseworlds, wherever. If they decide to never do it again, that's fine. But now he can move on and do his own Batman on the DCU on the new timeline.
Honestly, the only way I'd be happy is if they announce a new, like a Batman and Robin 2, and they get Alicia Silverstone to come back as Batgirl, Chris O'Donnell to play Robin. Hold on, wait.
But then we're going to see Ezra again. No,
I want to see Ezra again, and I want him to fight Sylvester Stallone as
Mr. Freeze.
No, we already had Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, so let's have Sylvester Stallone play like the puppet master. What was his name?
I can't.
Like
the ventriloquist and Scarface.
Yeah, the ventriloquist. Let me have fucking Sylvester Stallone play that character.
I swear to God, don't even speak this shit into existence, because somebody from fucking Warner Brothers is going to hear you and be like, "That's a great idea. Hey, boss, I got this great idea for a new Batman movie. We should bring back Clooney and Alicia Silverstone."
It's like ridiculous. Man. I agree with you, Fred. Like, so I guess the whole idea, I believe, my interpretation is that George Clooney being Bruce Wayne is meant to signify that even though Barry saved his dad, he still changed time and things are different. So we're going to have different characters.
Now he's off.
Whatever. Yeah. My problem is, though, if they are going to continue, quote unquote, the continuity from this point forward, that means Ezra Miller's still the Flash, and I don't want him as the Flash. We need a new Flash.
Ezra Miller's the Flash.
No, they have this movie ends this ending of the movie only works is if they completely recast the Flash.
But like, so if they call it an Elseworlds movie, then the whole narrative that this is gonna reset the DC universe on cinema for James Gunn is false. Then this is just another movie. It's just a whole other dimension.
I think you're missing something here. What this movie did was create the multiverse.
It created the multiverse,
but they don't have a multiverse.
It solidified
the chronosphere. No, he did, because all the times that you got to remember something. What they explained earlier in the movie with the spaghetti is that every time you go back in the past and change something, it creates a new strand. So every time that the 1,800 times that they went and fucking changed something to try and save Bruce and Supergirl, they created a new strand each time.
Right.
So now we have a multiverse. Now we have a multiverse.
But so does that mean
it's a shitty way of explaining that we have a multiverse now, but that's what they're saying. So the Clooney Ezra thing is one universe. There's still a universe where Affleck and Ezra are Flash and Batman. There's still a universe where Keaton dies. There's still a universe where now whatever James Gunn does is going to be that universe's spaghetti strand, basically.
All right.
I just hate them all, if I'm being honest.
That was my understanding of it, at least.
That's why I'm saying, like, I think it only works because this movie proved to you that you can have different actors, different people be the same character.
Did it?
Yes.
Did it? Because it didn't really work.
Well, because Aquaman is still Aquaman. Jason Momoa is still the same.
Batman was from beginning to end of the movie 3 different fucking people. So yeah,
and only one of them was good. Is my point.
Oh, you're saying it didn't prove it; it just showed that that's possible.
Yeah, it showed it's possible for you to cast.
It
other
didn't
people.
prove that it would work.
It didn't prove that it would work.
Okay, you're just being ridiculous now.
Yeah, I'm not being ridiculous. Like
you're not understanding the point. The point is that
yes, you can cast 19 people as Batman. It doesn't mean it works.
Oh my god!
I still think though Henry Cavill should have been at the end of the movie. like, why not bring him back for something?
I'm saying it's very easy to cast a new Flash for the DCU because they told you in their own movie that you can have multiple variants.
Yes, and I agree with that.
But you just went on a whole thing that you hated it.
No. I'm just saying, like you're saying it works. I'm saying it doesn't always work.
To be clear, he just hates this movie.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest. There's nobody who should really like this movie. The fact that we had celebrities basically telling us how they wept at how emotional this movie was and how good the movie was and blah,
it was
blah,
not
blah.
emotional at all.
Like
there was zero emotion in this entire movie. It felt so flat.
Even the
I had a couple giggles, and I loved a lot of the action sequences, but overall,
honestly, I put this movie in the same boat as The Room, as Tommy Wiseau's The Room, as it's so bad. Like, see, I can't even say that because at least that movie entertains me. I want to watch that movie over and over again because it's just something that makes me laugh every time. And in this one, it's going to come out on HBO Max, and I'm not going to watch it again. I have no interest. There's nothing about it that makes me interested. Like it's just it was a garbage movie. I give it honestly a 2 out of 10, and the 2 is really for Supergirl.
Wow.
But otherwise,
I wasn't even going to go that low. Fred,
I did not like it.
Fred, what do you got?
I have 2 rankings.
What's that? Go for it.
So I give this movie, now bear with me. Don't jump me, right? I give this movie a 7.8 out of 10. Hold on, let me finish. As a Batman movie, this was a great Batman movie to watch.
No,
we
it
got
wasn't.
to see 3 different Batmans. I enjoyed I enjoyed watching Affleck and Keaton, and then the little Clooney cameo. I enjoyed that and overall, from beginning to end of this movie, it was just it had really nothing to do with the Flash. It was more about Batman, and
yeah.
As a Flash movie, I give it probably a 4.9.
It's horrible. This whole movie was horrible. Go ahead, Carmine. What do you think?
So I'm at a 5.5, and it's only that high.
Too much credit.
Hold on. If you subtract Supergirl from this movie, it's a 3.
Yeah, Supergirl's
like
great.
That's like Supergirl was so good. Like her scenes were so good and made me fall in love with her so much on screen that it actually bumped this movie
and
up.
She
like
wasn't in the movie long.
20 minutes.
She wasn't, but everything she did in the movie was so
an hour.
Yeah, and everything she did was so fantastic.
She gave me a 30-minute performance that makes me want her to be Supergirl moving forward.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that.
This movie,
and that's why I'm at a 5.5. But without Supergirl, this movie's a flat 3. And
I can't go higher than a 2 out of 10. All right, you gave me 3 Ezra Millers. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Three Ezra Millers already drops it to like a 4 out of 10, and then horrible CGI. $220 million movie, guys, and the CGI is arguably as good as a PS2 game, and not even the actual game. It's like the cinematics that are kind of pre-done before the game.
Yeah.
Like it was just bad. I really didn't. I literally left the theater. I got home. My wife said, "What'd you think?" And I went, "It was horrible." I don't like.
I got finished watching this movie, and I was like, "What the fuck did I just watch?" Like I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible.
It was mind blowing to me that A, this movie cost $220 million. B, that James Gunn said that it's the best superhero movie he's ever seen.
And to your point, Scythe,
all the people
that does get you a little
was,
worried about what he's going to do with the DCEU. Because
I think he was just towing company line. Like they're like,
so.
They're like, James, you have to say this movie's great.
They basically said, look, we're going to make you a billionaire, and we're going to give you full control of the DC universe going forward.
Yeah.
However, in order for that to happen, you need to tell the world that this Flash movie is good. And let me make a point to you guys, okay? I'm going to make a point to you guys here. This movie made it to theaters. They spent $220 million on this movie. They made it to theaters, and it's this bad.
How bad was that Batgirl movie?
Batgirl? I mean, how bad was that movie that the director, the producers, the writers, the actors all praised the work? Brendan Fraser will say that he's very upset the movie didn't come out because of how good it really was. But yet somebody watched it and said, no, No. Burn it. Don't show it to anybody. And yet this movie made it. This movie made it through the system. They should have just released it on HBO Max. I know it costs a lot of money, but like you had to have lost more money releasing in theaters than just releasing it on HBO Max and letting people watch it at home. Like this is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And I feel like at this point you should just release it on HBO Max. I feel like people are going to watch it just to see how bad it is and you're going to get your views.
Fast X is coming out on HBO Max in like record time. It's like 3 weeks since it released. This movie should beat that record.
A lot of movies are coming out quick.
Very fast.
Next
They're not performing. Movies are not doing as well in theaters.
I think Flash still hasn't made its money back yet, by the way.
Hold on. I think because they already announced when the Flash is coming out.
Yeah, Flash comes out next month. Two other movies that Transformers is next month. Like every movie that just came out within these last 3 weeks will be streaming somewhere next month.
The Flash still hasn't made its money back yet. It's sitting at 212 million.
So at the time, I took a snapshot of this. I have the top 10 highest grossing films worldwide box office.
Okay.
Now I'm going to start from the top bottom. And it's Super Mario Bros. At number 1.
Nice.
At 1.3 billion.
Is that Guardians, this year's or is this all time?
It's just this year.
All right.
Guardians at 828 million.
Nice.
Fast X at 689 million.
Laughable.
Across the Spider-Verse 560.
All right, already I don't like these numbers. How was Across the Spider-Verse worse than the Fast X?
Little Mermaid 400.
Because internationally, Fast and Furious does really, really fucking well.
Yeah. I guess Little Mermaid was what?
I watched it. Little Mermaid was 499.
Better than Fast X.
No, Fast X was.
No, I mean the movie was better. Than
the
Fast
movie
X.
wise, yeah. So Ant-Man was 476. John Wick 4 was 427. Transformers was 341. Creed 3 was 275. And The Flash at 10 was 211.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Transformers can jump up though because it's still in theaters, so it'll probably.
Let me ask you guys this question because we talked at length about Ant-Man Quantumania and specifically how bad MODOK looked. After seeing The Flash and how bad the CG can really be,
I love
MODOK. Still think MODOK looked horrendous?
Amazing. He looked so amazing.
Like retroactively, The Flash just made Ant-Man 3 look great.
Yeah. MODOK looked better than every one of those babies.
Right.
Are you sure?
Nicolas Cage.
All those babies were little MODOKs.
Nicolas Cage filmed his scenes, and MODOK looked better than Nicolas Cage did.
I did not understand the Nicolas Cage scene at all. It looked insane.
Why?
It looked insane.
Like I can get Christopher Reeves, right? The people who are dead, I can understand. You're gonna try your best, but you can't make him look that great. It was Nicolas Cage filmed his scenes.
Oh shit! We got Grand Moff Tarkin in fucking Rogue One. It looked just like Grand Moff Tarkin.
That's true. But Nicolas Cage filmed his scenes. Just so I don't know if I said it enough times. He was there. They have him on camera filming his scenes, and he looked like a plastic Barbie with long hair.
It made no fucking sense.
Anyway, we're at almost 2 hours. I can't go for any longer. That's our Flash review. Let us know what you think in the comments. Oh God, I think next week we're gonna have the Fast and Furious 1 recap will come out, and then we have a few coming down the road. Indiana Jones comes out soon. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 comes out in a couple weeks. Extraction 2 is out now. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff. There's a whole bunch of movies out every Tuesday, 8:30 on YouTube. Check out the Theater Room podcast. We're deep diving as many movies as we
Fast
can.
1 and Bad Boys 1 soon.
We got Bad Boys 1 also.
Next on the wheel is Dr. No.
Dr. No, the original James Bond.
Into James Bond.
We're going back a few eras here. So we got a lot
Can I see the wheel? Is it?
Yeah, they pull it up real quick. Hold on.
Oh, you haven't seen the wheel yet?
No.
I thought we showed him. My bad.
I haven't been on in like a month.
I know.
We got our wheel here.
Okay.
So we got a lot of stuff on here. Quentin Tarantino movies, M. Night Shyamalan, the Terminator series, Resident Evil movies, Pixar. We got a long list.
So if it lands on Quentin Tarantino, do you guys flip a coin on the movie? Like
we're basically starting with their first movie, and then we'll just kind of move down the list.
Oh, that's
so it hit Bad Boys. So we watched the very first Bad Boys.
Well, it hit Michael Bay.
It hit Michael Bay. I'm sorry, Michael Bay. So we went and watched Bad Boys. It was his first full movie. And then it also hit the Fast and Furious franchise. So we went back and rewatched the Fast and Furious 1.
Gotcha.
So we got a bunch of movies on here. We are adding movies. If you guys in the comments, have movies that you want us to add to the wheel, let us know. We'll throw it on there. Basically, whenever there's a new release, the plan is we're going to do a deep dive on that new release. If it's a big one like The Flash, we'll do it live. Otherwise, it'll be on YouTube at around 8:30 on Tuesdays. And if there is no big release, then we're going to do the movie that we got on the wheel. So at the end of Bad Boys, sure. At the end of Bad Boys, at the end of Fast and Furious, we got Bad Boys. At the end of Bad Boys, we got Dr. No, or James Bond.
Dr. No's the next one?
That's going to be the next one.
We hit James Bond, and that's the first James Bond movie.
So if I spin it now,
hell yeah,
we would land on, drum roll, please, a Resident Evil series. That would be the next one. So we haven't done that yet. So we'd go back and watch the original Resident Evil movie, and then we'd give our thoughts on it, do a nice review with fresh eyes and a critical voice, and go through there. The DCEU is on here, so at some point we are going to go back and watch Man of Steel. There's Mel Brooks movies. We have the Scream series. It's a long list, so keep an eye out. Again, if you have any thoughts on what you want us to add to the wheel, let us know, and I'll see you guys on the next Theater Room podcast.